You could say that I've been active in Boston Chinatown for 40 years.
My grandfather started a grocery store with all his cousins and stuff, so that's the thing that people do, right? Mm-hmm. Whether they know how to do other laundry or...
I ended up going to college at UMass Boston, and I was volunteering in Chinatown, tutoring English and working on an oral history project with the Chinese Progressive Association.
On the left side of the street is where the first Chinese lived. Behind them on Oxford Place is where they bought their first building.
And then Suzanne and Michael asked me, would you like to work at CPA? We need somebody who can write.
For more than 30 years, Lydia has been an activist and a leader in the Chinese American communities here in Boston. So she has built up a trusted and respected reputation among city departments, among elected, among coalitions and foundations. And of course, she has the love of people in the community. So she brought all that to bear.
Beginning in 2015, we started the Land Trust. It's a society that's built on the ownership of private property. I think the Community Land Trust is a way of turning that on its head and using that legal ownership of private property in a collective way to try to stabilize a community that would otherwise be threatened.
One of the reasons why Chinatown's been able to retain a lot of buildings is because some of it's owned by family associations.
The first organizations that Chinese Americans formed, those family associations have owned property and they've remained in the family associations' hands over the decades. You know, there's some potential for the traditional family associations and the Community Land Trust to work together on preservation, because a lot of times the family association-owned buildings, they have been kept affordable, but they're really in disrepair. We see Chinatown as always playing a role as an anchor for immigrant working class families, even before it was called Chinatown. To us, preservation is both about preserving row houses, which are historic buildings, but even more importantly, it's preserving the people and the community that has lived in those buildings. Yeah, so Johnny Court is a really intact row house street. This is an area that we've been trying to get rezoned as part of a row house protection area. People think that anti-Asian violence is a new thing, but you know, it's really embedded in the whole history of Chinatown. It was dangerous to walk on the streets, and that's a lot of the reason why people really banded together in Chinatown, was for safety. So even though this is probably one of the unhealthiest places to have a park between the on-ramp and off-ramp, but you know, it has been the community's only public, open recreational space.
It's one of the few remnants of things that happened from the old days. So the younger generations actually took that on.
Lydia has pretty much dedicated her life to working and preserving Chinatown. She's very dogged and determined, and one thing I've always been impressed with was she was so dedicated after working a few years in Chinatown that she went to Hong Kong for a few years to try to improve our language capability.
Unlimited real estate speculation is the biggest challenge. We can decide as a city if it's important to us to preserve our communities. As a person of color in the US, even if you yourself are personally successful in a lot of ways, you will always feel that burden unless your people are free.